Reading Workshop, Strategy, Lesson, Donna Bushio, Developmental Reading Instructions, Summer 2018. Text Connection Standards, RL.7.1, cite several pieces of textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. RL.6.2, determine the theme or essential idea of the text and how it is conveyed through particular details. Provide a summary of the text distinct from personal opinions and judgments. Each connective has been classified according to the following abbreviated key: C equal causality, T equal time sequence, P equals purpose, CN concession, CT contrast. Irwin, 2007. The strategy for this lesson is text connections. Three main types of sentence connecting processes are understanding anaphora, understanding connective relationships, making slot-filling inferences. Irwin, 2007. The authentic text chosen for this lesson is called Training on an Anthill, Paired Passages, Teacher-Created Resources. Declarative procedure was integrated into my lesson when I made the analogy of beginning a puzzle to making a connection between words, phrases, clauses, sentences, and paragraphs. I then went into detail to explain connections and give examples of analogies.
I'd like to start out by asking you, have you ever put a puzzle together?
Yeah.
You did? Okay. I want you to close your eyes right now for a minute and think about starting a puzzle. What would you do? Tell me some things you would do. Before you start putting pieces together, what would you do?
I would flip all of them so you could see cover part.
Okay.
Where the picture is. And then I'd get all the brown, like the outside of the edges.
Okay. Okay. What else would you do?
Then start filling it in.
Okay. What are you thinking, Maya?
The same thing.
Okay, so you would study the covers, study the pictures, and maybe look at the borders of the puzzle. Good. Well, today making connections is very similar to putting a puzzle together. When you read a story or a type of text, you're required to think about that text, think about how it's organized, think, what is the author trying to get me to understand from this?
Conditional procedural knowledge was integrated into my plan. Example 1, during my read aloud, connections to key details such as who the main character was. Example 2, during the second paragraph, I recognized anaphora and the wanted what component of our story. Example 3, paragraph 3 begins with, as part of his training. I will read aloud to students. This is telling me the how. Conditional knowledge was integrated into the plan when it was explained to the students to remember to use this strategy during independent reading in order to not get confused by anaphoras, to connect the information in order to improve their comprehension, and to use appropriate anchor charts provided for various texts. Authentic text was chosen for this lesson plan. The text provided examples of anaphora, apositives, and answered the who, what, why, and how examples to apply to anchor charts, and had an interesting topic for middle schoolers. The topic was about a biathlon competitor, and the title had a fear factor quality to intrigue students' curiosity.
Well, today making connections is very similar to putting a puzzle together. When you read a story or a type of text, you're required to think about that text, think about how it's organized, think, what is the author trying to get me to understand from this text? And as you know, there's all different kinds of text, right? Today we're going to be working with a nonfiction story, okay? And I think you're going to enjoy it, but I'm going to read this story to you. And when I'm reading the story, I'm going to think out loud about my strategies for reading. and how I make sure that I'm getting key information and noting it, and I'm not getting confused by certain things. So you're just going to listen to me read your story, okay? And there's something else that I'd like to tell you that I'm going to be mentioning today, and that's called an anaphora. Okay, anaphora. An anaphora is similar to a pronoun. Well, one type of anaphora. Okay? Do you remember what a pronoun is?
He, she, they, we.
Okay, so what would you say a pronoun does? Takes the place of a noun. Very good, very good. So sometimes, if you remember in our previous lesson, I was telling you, we have to be careful with pronouns because we have to know who the antecedent is. Do you remember that word, the antecedent? So if I say, Mary came in and dropped her pencil, who is her referring to? Mary. So Mary's the antecedent, okay? So when we're reading, we have to be very careful when we see these anaphoras or pronouns that we know who the antecedent is and that we're not confusing it, right? Like if I said Bob and Dave went up the hill and he fell, who fell? We don't know. So we have to be very careful that we don't lose track of who the antecedents for the pronouns are, okay? Now, just for your information, on the smartboard, I put some examples of anaphoras. She dropped the glass and it broke into pieces. It is referring to the glass, okay? The party was over and that upset everybody. That is referring to what? It's the antecedent. The party. So you get the idea? Okay. Okay. Training on an anthill.
Reading aloud section.
Well, let's see. Magnar Solberg would lie on an anthill. The ants would swarm out of the ground and crawl up Solberg's legs. Who would want to lay on an anthill? Why would they want to lay on an anthill? I noticed that the author is referring to this character now as Solbergs. They're referring to him by his last name. They would cover his entire face. Ugh. It was, as Solberg said, awful. Yet Solberg did this time after time. What was his reason? Well, in looking at this story, Training on an Anthill, there's a picture that I'm using to help figure this out. And as a skier, it looks like he's a cross-country skier, and he's got some type of competitive garb on, and there's numbers on the side of the trail, and it looks like there's spectators with flags. So I'm thinking that he's racing, and it has something to do with him being in competition. All right, well, let me go on. Maybe I'll find out the answer. Solberg was a Norwegian police officer. Okay, so I think we know the who. So I'm going to fill in the who on our chart. So his name is Magnar Solberg. And he's a Norwegian police officer. Well, that makes sense because police officer, I would imagine.
Kelly West, if you're in the building, please call the main office. Kelly West, please call the main office. And can I have Tom Joseph to the main office?
A police officer, I would imagine, is in physical shape, so that makes sense that he would be doing something athletic. Okay, so Solberg was a Norwegian police officer who was training for the biathlon competition for the 1968 Olympic Winter Games. Well, that sounds like something that he wanted to do, right? So he wanted to win the Olympics. I think that in blue because I co-coded.
This will be the linking portion of the presentation.
Okay, so as you can see, we've completed this chart very well. You guys did a great job of making connections for your chart. Now, what I'd like to tell you is I have this book that I showed you before of graphic organizers. And there's all types of graphic organizers for all different kinds of text. But it's all about making connections. So anytime you'd like to use any of these graphic charts, let me know, and I'll make copies of them for you to use in your other classes. Okay? So hopefully you've learned that the benefit of having a chart and connecting sentences, not just reading words and getting from point A to point B, that's not reading, okay? Reading is using strategies, visualization and making strategies and asking, what is the author telling us? What information is he giving us? Is he telling who, where, when, what, how? Okay? Great job, girls. Very good. Thank you.
Future directions for teaching this strategy: teach or reteach students definitions of pronouns, antecedents, and appositives previously. Authentic text is vital in order to provide explicit instruction. Authentic text for students is also vital to ensure students achieve the same satisfaction of metacognition that was provided through guided practice. Having an anchor chart that is appropriate for the text and provide examples of others that are appropriate for varied texts. Put students in the driver's seat for selecting anchor charts for all future texts so they are truly being strategic. Strong points of the lesson. The connection was directly applicable to the strategy, puzzles, and connections. Clear declarative, procedural, and conditional knowledge. Reflection on prior lesson knowledge. Less effective points of the lesson. A 3-day lesson for this strategy would be more effective. Lesson 1 would include to introduce the specific lesson strategy and begin teaching the many anchor charts for the linking lessons of future strategies. Lesson 2 would be to review students' group results. Lesson 3 for individual practice with teachers' recorded guidance for future strategy reference. Hindsight reflection is the key for future success to strategic teaching lessons. Focus for the next lesson needs to be a 3-part lesson for independent practice with teachers' guidance. During part 2 of the lesson, I would keep a record of each student's individual weaknesses and strengths and keep a running log of those notes for all future strategy readings. References for this PowerPoint: J.F. O'Malsey and S.K. Fullerton, Teaching Strategic Processes in Reading; R. Forster, Paired Passages, Linking Fact to Fiction; J. Irwin, Teaching Reading Comprehension Processes; and Your Dictionary Anaphora Examples. Thank you for watching this PowerPoint presentation.